Welcome back to the broadcast. And as Kenya commemorates International Women's Day on 8th of March 2024, but the rising cases of femicide continues to grapple the country, with various organizations on the End Femicide movement, including Amali organization, filed a petition for femicide to be recognized as a national crisis and commissioned significant measures towards the anti-femicide campaign program across all sub-counties in Nairobi. Now, UN Women 2024 theme is in relation to Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress, which highlights the importance of gender equality, women's and girls' empowerment, and their rights to healthier lives. Now, I am joined by Balozi Zaha Indimuli, an Executive Director of Amali organization, to delve deep into this year's IWD campaign theme, Inspire Inclusion. Welcome, Zaha, to our broadcast.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, maybe you can begin by telling us, what does International Women's Day mean to you?
Well, I think for me it's a celebration. It's getting to have a moment to have a reflection on how far women have come, to see the empowerments that they've been able to undergo, to see how women's potential can be utilized to create a significant change in the world. And I think for me, it's a day of joy to look into history and see just how far women have been able to contribute to the betterment of the world at large. Yeah.
That's really a nice way and perspective to think about it.
It's a celebration because, importantly, I think we have so many issues amongst women. It's important to take time and celebrate the goodness that we are as women as well.
Yeah, now that it is Women's History Month, maybe what do you think about the theme Inspire Inclusion? Like, what comes to your mind when you hear that theme?
I think considering the fact that gender equality is the greatest human crisis we have right now, it's a human rights challenge, and considering the fact that we still have such a long way to finding, women equality across the globe, I think importantly, investing in women not only is it accelerating the potential of women, besides the fact that they are actually half the population of the globe, but it's important for us to not only invest in their existence, but also in their security now more than ever. Because even in the fact that we're having the conflicts across the globe, a majority of the people that are suffering the most are women. We're having 60% of chronically people that suffer through chronic hunger being women and girls. So importantly, investing in policies and structures that take care of women becomes important now more than ever, because as much as we're looking at a situation whereby there's been popularity in women empowerment, but there's still such a long way to go in terms of implementation to remove discriminatory laws across the globe. So I think it goes a long way into bringing the perspective of what women really are and bringing women to the surface of their potential to see how much they can actually go.
Yeah, maybe let's bring the point home now, even as Kenyans. Now, you as Zaha Indimuli, what are some of the measures or strides that you've made to participate in advocating for gender diversity and equality for Kenyan women and just the Kenyan population?
I think considering first that we are tackling one of the most serious crises we've had in Kenya for a long time. And, Kenya has had a long history of violence against its women. Importantly, with the femicide crisis that has been happening and the high cases that have risen from as far as January. And even the last case that we had of some staff from Usikimye being attacked, courtesy of what they addressed as. There's a clear indication that the country suffers from a hate crime, and this hate crime is femicide. When we're looking at the data that Odipodev had actually shared, of the 500 cases that were streamlined, we're looking at a situation whereby more than 50% of the cases, if not all the cases, are intimate partner, violent cases and gender-based violent cases. So we're looking at a situation whereby not only are women supposed to be up in arms over the men that are outside, but you're also supposed to be up in arms over the men that you live with, because importantly, data is showing us that husbands and boyfriends are the first perpetrators. So we're looking at a situation whereby, not only as a movement, and especially because End Femicide KE is a collection of more than 1,000 organizations across the country, and allies too, together with individuals. And one of the key things we were trying to focus on, especially when presenting the petition, is not only to signify the importance of making it a national crisis, but also bring the government on board in ensuring that we create structures that necessarily protect women and their safety being regarded as, a national issue. But importantly, what we've been able to achieve, and I think I'm very grateful for the movement because we've been able to table the petition, especially to the County Assembly of Nairobi, and very much big thanks to the Speaker of the County Assembly of Nairobi because he welcomed the situation and he sat down to listen to the data and facts, because there's a lot of misconceptions that are actually going on. Oh, these women are being killed because they're being lured. But when you check the circumstances to which we're losing our women and our girls being dismembered, students, we stop making the victim being, be the prospect of the discussion, because when we keep on blaming the victim, we continuously affirm these perpetrators, and you see these cases are keep going higher and higher because we keep making the perpetrator the center of the discussion. We are not considering these femicide cases as the slaughters that they are. But importantly, this petition has been able to be addressed at the County Assembly. As of last week, Wednesday, the County Assembly of Nairobi, and congratulations to our MCAs, were able to address it at the County Assembly, and it was given to the Legal Affairs Committee. We're looking at a situation whereby we not only want a commission specifically targeted towards ending femicide in Kenya, but we're looking at a situation whereby we want our women and girls to be safe. We already have so many issues as women to carry on our backs. We're still looking at a situation whereby we're still earning less, 23% less when it comes to the global labor systems. We're still looking at a situation whereby more than 62% of African countries still have to consider FGM crises that they have, and especially considering sub-Saharan Africa being quite a hotspot when it comes to these violences. So I think collectively, with the strides that we're making, Nairobi County being a spearhead, we're looking at other counties also passing this petition in their own amendments, because it's not just capital cities that are hosting this epidemic. We're having even as far as Turkana, we're having as far as Busia, where women are not only being abducted and abused and sexually assaulted, but they're also being killed and dismembered and their bodies, dropped out wherever. I think it's important for us to highlight how important women are in a society. If at all we do acknowledge that we form more than half the population of Kenya, then the potential of our labor system still lies in the hands of women. So it's important for us to focus on creating structures that do protect these women and girls. Yeah.
Now, you have mentioned how you have taken the angle of keeping the political leaders accountable and to take legislative action. Now, on your part, even as an executive director of Amali organization and collaborating with other various organizations that are part of the movement, maybe what are certain strides that you're also taking now as you keep the government accountable? On this other side, you're also sensitizing the nation and the youth and just the online audience, because that's the form of communication that most people rely on.
Being in a country, and specifically the Republic of Kenya being a very digitalized place, a majority of the work that we're doing necessarily concerns awareness in the digital space. And not only are we debunking these misconceptions whereby, especially there was a whole era of an Airbnb meme. So every case of femicide that was coming up in the country, everybody was regarding it to the Airbnb, the crisis. And so it reflects us back to the Ndhiwa crisis, whereby the lady was beheaded inside her house when she was cooking ugali. And this automatically should make the Kenyan focus, look at the situation at hand as an actual societal issue. And the strides we've been able to take, especially digitally, I think it's from the beginning of January, and this is not the first time we're actually talking about femicide. We have been. It's just that for the first time, it has reached the attention of the media full hand, and we're looking at a situation whereby most media outlets are getting into the space to actually discuss these issues, and having International Women's Day commemorate, the living of the women, but also remembering the women we have lost. We have taken so many strides in not only engaging with government, but also engaging in our civil societies, because that's what the movement is about. It's about effectively having our civil societies assist us in educating not only just the Gen Zs, as everybody keeps saying, but also educating the elderly, educating the people in the rural communities who maybe might not necessarily have the direct access to digitalization as we do in the urban centers, but also having this message being passed across in their local languages, so that even at the chief's post, there's a sensitization of the same issue. And I think we're collaborating even with defenders, human rights defenders across the country, and importantly, working with individuals and allies that take it upon themselves, and especially even the influencers and celebrities who not only have assisted us to pass this information, but also hosting these discussions in their platforms. We're having people who are coming in, not only to have this discussion as a crisis, but we're also wanting a situation whereby the country takes it up, to condemn the act publicly, because again, that silence that is going on between our leaders, that is going on between our even our religious spaces, because we're calling upon our Catholic priests, our deacons, our pastors, that this situation is far beyond just girls being lured in Airbnbs. It's just one case or very, very few, and considering the fact that we're waiting until this case knocks on our door for us to find that urgency, it says a lot about this country, considering we are a praying nation, we are a godly nation. God exists in the power of love to humanity, and I think even in the descendants of what the commandments were in the Bible, if I can quote it, we are centered to not only obey our parents, do not steal, but God summarizes it as love, and loving one another. And my safety, you and I, starts from me necessarily keeping you safe, because I'm able to keep myself safe. But again, Kenya also has a tendency whereby we make security such an individual issue. And I look at it as a situation whereby we not only have the Ministry of Defense, but we also have the Ministry of National Security, like internal security itself. And they're two separate prospects, because it's important for there to be legislation where that presents security to its people. And under the Constitution itself, we're reminded that everybody has equal rights to be fully secure in this country, and especially in regards to gender, being SDG 5, for example. We're looking at a situation whereby we not only should be making strides towards reminding Kenyans why femicide is it's very absurd and narcissistic for us to keep reminding people that we're supposed to be alive, that you're not supposed to kill us, courtesy of us being women. But it should center around making the populations understand clearly that this is not just an issue of us condemning the fact that these murders are happening, but it's also us condemning the silence that goes around it, the silence of the abuses that go on, because before you raise up your hand to kill a person, you have had constant violences going on. It's the once in a while time when you tell somebody ndakuua. And then eventually that actually ends up happening. And then you see, we're looking at 60% of the rural cases that are happening don't actually even get to report these cases. So the violences continue until we actually find the woman dead. And so these strides that we're trying to take, not only in digitalizing this information, but also making it trickle down to the normal and the common mwananchi to understand the language in necessarily what it is, that it is a murder, it is a hate crime against women, it's a terroristic attack against women, it's fear being imposed amongst women, and nobody should make any woman feel as if whatever you've been able to experience in terms of violence, in terms of assault, because we're looking at 60% of women between the age of 15 to 49 have experienced either physical, stroke, sexual assault one time in their life. And that is an absurd number to deal with, considering half the population in this country are women. So meaning 1 in 4 women you'll meet every day, one of them has been assaulted. And we're not talking about assaults whereby we're counting only physical assaults. Even that verbal abuse that necessarily happens even as we walk, the catcalling, it starts from there. So not only are we supposed to remind our men to respect women, but respect yourself as well. We're supposed to raise our men to understand that the primarily virtue of proper masculinity is protection. And not only do you protect those ones around you, but you also protect, the self within you. And that protection trickles down to how you protect your family, because women are nurturers. And if you present a protection strategy for them, or rather you keep them in a place where they feel safe, it's automatic that a woman's femininity will come on board, and we'll be seeing women that are healthy and loving and nurturing children. And I think I can even quote the WFP. When you have women being empowered by correct policies, by correct endorsements, by investments going to what women actually are doing, you find that a whole entire country is able to rise up by courtesy of it empowering its women. So Kenya should look, and I think this is also an imploring to the government, and especially to the President, His Excellency William Ruto, having a country blessed as such, having a country that keeps on moving despite whatever circumstances. It is important for us as leaders, it's important for the leaders that we get to choose, to consider that your mandate is to take care of the mwananchi, not only in the economic side, but also in the space to which they belong, which is in their existence. And so creating that system whereby our societies take care of each other becomes very important in this situation.
Yeah. I like how you dived deep into victim blaming and shaming, which can happen verbally, it can happen online.
Yes.
And now in terms of quote-unquote potential victims, maybe what is a recommendation that you can give various respective authorities to handle when they get to receive such cases? Because femicide is just an advanced level of gender-based violence, but there are still other cases. And what are maybe now certain recommendations you can give them so that they can be able to have or are fully equipped to handle the potential victims in that state?
And thankfully, in the movement, we're able to have meetings every morning to debunk on these issues. And I think, first of all, is to consider the fact that we now have a new LSK leadership. And I'm really looking towards how LSK will now position itself to ensure they are part and parcel of this conversation in assisting us to create policies that necessarily protect women at all means, and women and girls per se. But importantly, I think I'd want to also employ the judiciary. It's important for us to look at creating a Sexual Offences Act that creates, a special unit for femicide cases to be dealt with accordingly. But importantly, the DCI also has made an alternative of creating even hotlines and even deploying a unit specifically to deal with femicide cases. Because the fact that even these perpetrators are out on bail, you cannot reverse somebody's life. When somebody is dead, we cannot be able to go back to the grave and ask them to come back up. But we can be able to ensure that the perpetrator does not have any chance whatsoever to repeat the situation again. And that we're supposed to look at our parliamentarians very strictly and very soberly, because our MPs, our MCAs, our Senates, they are the policy makers. So I think this is the right time for all these committees that are meeting in whatever regard, in the same energy we put on various issues in the country, the same energy should be put in the forefront of pushing for these femicide, policies and the enactment of the same, because we can only discuss policies and discuss them in parliament and discuss them, but we're not looking at that responsibility. We're not seeing that responsibility being taken up. And it's something that I've seen with the County Assembly of Nairobi, and I'm hoping the rest of the county assemblies take it up. But for the parliamentarians, it's time for us to push this enactment. It's time for us to have the president put a stamp on the fact that, this is a crisis. Let me give an example of Gabon. Gabon passed a law, an enactment on violences against women. And we're looking at a situation whereby they have moved from, I think, a 50.1% in 2020, when we were just amidst COVID, to a good increment of a lot of these discriminatory cases being ruled out, femicide cases being done, an improvement to a good 82.9%. And Gabon is quite much of a rising country. We are very much more developed. We are a country that is looked upon in the development scheme. We're a country that is ranked high in the African realm. It's important for us to also be leaders in commemorating what women are and ensuring these structures are also there. Also, a big message to the clergy. It's not the time for us to start talking about women in terms of, you should know, but you should not go. Everybody's looking for money in this country. Everybody goes to work every day to look for money by whatsoever circumstance. Nobody deserves to die in whatever situation. So the clergy should look at having this discussion in terms of calling out the murder. This is not the time for us to be going around victim blaming cycles. The victim had nothing to do with their death, neither their abuse. It's important for us to put that same energy and focus we put on victims and burdening them with an already burdened situation. Put the same energy on perpetrators and the murder that they cause, or rather the abuse that they cause, so that we can also feel that societal encouragement, not only to the perpetrators but to the victims, so for them to find a safe space, not only to report but for also them to go through a healing process, whereby their psychological healing, their physical healing is taken upon by the societies and communities. It's not a time for us to push them astray, as victims of weird stuff that has happened. It's important for us to create spaces for us to embrace them. But importantly also, I think even for the people of Kenya at large, whether they are watching, whether they are streaming, it's important for us to hold space for ourselves, because you never know when you're next. Every woman around, when we walk around, when you leave your house and you come back in one piece, it's a point for you to thank God, because a minute later, there's another lady that probably was killed, or rather was assaulted on her way back home or to work. And also for the private sectors. And I think I implore KEPSA, because KEPSA has been really supportive in so many amendments and so many policy engagements. This is a time for private sector to also create spaces in our offices whereby women are safe and well taken care of. It's a time to reduce the abuses. It's a time for us to create space for women to report upon abuses, whether it's our bosses, whether it's our colleagues. I think it's just it can't be we're in 2024, in the 21st century, still telling the world that women deserve to be alive. It's absolutely narcissistic. So I think for us to be able to move forward, because women have so much potential, and if we check what women can do, women are so great. Women are so powerful. Women are so I lack words to explain what women are in their beautification, in their existence, and in who they are as people. It's just high time that we embrace women for who they are and support them for them to get to their full potential, because I think there's so much more they can achieve.
Yeah, now even as we wind up, now let's go back to the theme Inspire Inclusion.
Yeah.
Now, as an executive director of Amali organization, how do you ensure there's inclusivity and you cater to each and every member of your organization in giving them equal opportunities?
So a structure that has worked for us, especially in Amali organization, considering we've been looking at around 2,000 to 5,000 young people joining and others taking a break, of course, because young people are allowed to grow and to change and to find new experiences. From the structure of how we onboard our members to how we're able to give them a breakdown of what we do and how they can be able to engage. We look at gender equality as a very serious component in Amali, and considering the fact that our main pillars are around inclusive youth development and health, for example, we're looking at a situation whereby we not only connote what exactly it means to have a gender balance, but also have a gender inclusivity in terms of decision making, changes, enactment, how these young people are put in place to sit down and discuss and deliberate on what they want to do. Because importantly, you're a young person, Gloria, doing this show right now. Nobody, if you walk outside, would believe that you as a young person is doing such a great job in this TV show until they get to actually see it. And so the fact that young people also have to explain themselves over and over again is getting a bit tiring. So for inclusivity, because inclusivity is not just in matters gender, we are also in a situation whereby right now gender conformatives are very, very many. And right now people are allowed to identify to whatever degree that they want to, because human beings are human beings and we change and we are fluid. It's important for us, especially as an organization in Amali, we look at a situation whereby from the leadership structure to how even we engage with the population that is a part of the organization. How do we necessarily make people feel comfortable in who their gender is and what their gender is, and how can we make them feel represented? And we do not bring it to them and feed them on their throats. We allow them to give us perspectives of what it is and what looks like a best way to be represented in Amali, and that has worked for us in a long way.
Yeah, now, even as I wind up, now we are expecting to celebrate International Women's Day on 8th of March. Yeah. Is there somebody you want to celebrate, and how do you want to celebrate it? Now, even as it is happening this week, are there plans on how you want to celebrate it as a woman?
Well, of course. I think it's together with other women, of course, to celebrate who we are and how far we have come. But importantly, I think to the women that have raised me, supported me, from the mothers, from my chosen family as well. I've been raised by so many women, not only as, of course, my biological mom, but I've had so many mothers in my journey that have been able to, highlight what it is for me to be a girl that is empowered and to speak my mind. But importantly, for all the young women that still hold my hand as we keep walking this work in the humanitarian space, it gets very difficult and overwhelming. Yeah. And a majority of the people that have held my hand so strongly and kept empowering me are women. And so for me, I think importantly it's to celebrate and to wish every woman in Kenya and the world at large a happy Women's Month. I think from today till the end of the year, we should be talking about women, because there's just so much, and it's overwhelming. I have so much love for women in this country, and I don't have to meet all 50 million of us for us to share that love. It's through our work that we do. It's through how we speak. It's through how you're able to see somebody and say, hello, I feel like you're powerful and you need to keep moving. And I think that for me would be, of course, the highlight. And especially as a movement, we do have so many engagements that are happening. We're collaborating and partnering with so many organizations that are actually handling the International Women's Day. Because as a movement, it's not for us to put down every other organization. We're trying to work together to enact this particular voice.
Yeah, well, I celebrate you, and thank you so much for coming to the show.
Thank you.
I have received so much content. I'm still, digesting it. There's so much that you can debunk on, and hopefully you can come again.
Yes, sure.
As for me, I celebrate myself, my mother. And with that, we're just going to take a short commercial break, and we'll be back with the business news.